What's up, guys? It's your host Chuck's Payne here again by myself. Today this video I'm gonna do is about the it's gonna continue the series of the top sleepers in the NFL draft. Today we will be doing the cornerbacks for the 2023 NFL draft. I will be doing the top 5 sleepers and also be giving a bonus top 5 cornerbacks overall in the draft. So without further ado, well, before I do that, please like and subscribe to our channel, Throwing the Podcast 214. Follow us on Instagram, Throwing the Towel 214, and then Empty on Twitter too, TITTP 214. Yeah, please follow us. You know, we're trying to gain traction to put more videos out for you guys and content out. We still have everyone else setting up their shows and everything like that. So yeah, please follow us and join the movement. But without further ado, okay, let's get straight into it. For 5 corner I have for my top 5 sleeper corners in 2023, I have Carrington Valentine out of University of Kentucky. So Carrington Valentine is a pretty interesting prospect because, you know, if you look at his tape and, you know, when they're playing against top receivers or top offenses or whatever, it's not mind-blowing. However, there's certain traits that you just see, and then there's certain plays. It's just a lack of consistency. That's why he's so far on the list. But then you see certain plays that are just, you know, wow. You look at it, you're like, wow, that's like a starting pretty good corner that would react to that or that made that great play. So, I mean, just off his measurables alone, he's 5'11", almost 6 feet tall, 193 pounds. Not bad size for the NFL. The other thing that's pretty intriguing is that he ran a 4.38. which is right in my range of all pro corners. So yeah, so again, I do this within the range of the script that I wrote. So I might have the most strangest or weirdest top 5 sleepers or whatever that on YouTube, but you know, we're just gonna rock out with it and see where that takes us. So yeah. But as far as Carrington Valentine, so I have a list of traits that he has for as far as pros and cons. So as far as the pros go, he's decent in man-to-man. He's not bad in man-to-man coverage. He has nice length. Like I said, he's 5'11", almost 6 feet, 193 pounds. I didn't say yet he has a 32 and a half wingspan as well. He has 9.25 or 9 1/4 hand size, which is pretty decent. It's not mind-blowing, but it's pretty decent. He had a 39-inch vertical, which is pretty good. Like, some of his stats are just like, wow. Like, you know, as far as like, I didn't know he was, even his broad jump is 128. I didn't know he was going to be placed in these measures as far as his athleticism, because on tape it doesn't show that he's that athletic. I don't know what it is, but it's just, you look at him on tape, he looks like, you know, he's a decent technician, but he doesn't pop out to you like, oh wow, this is a very athletic corner like some other guys in the class. But nonetheless, though, he is a sleeper for me because he has starting cornerback potential, and he's supposed to go undrafted, which is, I don't get it. I watched his tape. I watched some other guys' tape too. I'm like, he's better than the guys that y'all mentioned and everything like that. So again, could be biased from me because I'm just going off of the program that I wrote. But you know, we'll see in the coming. So he's pretty good at the line of scrimmage too. And he's using a lot of blitz packages, which will probably be like his best thing if he's utilized in the NFL as of right now. So he's a good blitz corner. Very good at line of scrimmage, just like Joey Porter Jr. Very good at the line of scrimmage. He's able to disrupt receivers and put them off their routes and everything like that. So that's always a plus, and that's a good thing when you see that from a young corner. Now, Here are the issues I have, which the reason he's number 5 on the sleeper list is he just plays a bit slow. Even though he's a 4.38, it looks like he plays a little bit slower. But he just seems pretty slow reacting to the ball or reacting to cuts and routes and everything like that. So he has decent recovery time, but as far as the NFL, once you get to the NFL, they're going to exploit that full-heartedly, because if you're a slow corner or if you seem like a slow corner, they're going to take advantage of that at any moment they can. So that was one of my issues with him. He's not a great tackler. That's another thing. And I almost didn't have him on the list because of that. I don't like when corners can't tackle. My thing is, you're playing with 11 players on the field. Even if you are guarding the receiver or whatever, you're still supposed to try to get up there and tackle them. Otherwise, they have the advantage in numbers. So I don't like corners who don't tackle. Needless to say, I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't tackle at all, but he just misses tackles a lot. Too many times to be, as far as the NFL. At times, he has bad technique. You watch him play, like, I know I said technician earlier, but I think I used the wrong word. He's more so like, he has a style of play that he plays with, and you could tell it's not conventional as far as the conventional corner is supposed to be played with. Like, I don't know if anyone's you've seen Christian Gonzalez tape, that looks like a professional corner, you know, someone that's been taught the conventional way. Now Carrington Valentine is different because his technique is so different that maybe it might work, but I'm just looking at it like it's just a bad technique because I've seen him get beat off that technique. Sometimes he doesn't have his feet under him. Sometimes he doesn't jam the receiver. Sometimes he doesn't have the correct footwork for that. So I feel like, and that's something that honestly that can be taught in the NFL. That it's not a big deal, especially if you're dealing with someone who's pretty athletic. It can be taught. And that's another thing with the draft that I don't understand. Is that these people act as if like you're getting the exact player that you drafted. No, you can teach these players and make them better, but a lot of people in the league are lazy. Like they don't want to put in that work and help a kid get better at the game of football. They would much rather try to find someone who's already established or try to find a already perfect package deal, which is something in the case of all of our lives now. But yeah, so that's my issue with it. He's not a good zone coverage corner either. He's also a player that grabs people when he's beat. That's why he's gotten a lot of calls as far as that. And some corners have the philosophy of it's better to grab someone than to just let them go and get a touchdown, which I can understand that, but you gotta understand, like, I understand that, but you gotta understand, like, the fans, all they're gonna see is you grabbed him and that you're the problem, just like fucking Anthony Brown for the Cowboys. So yeah, so that's the issue. I think he has the chance to make someone's roster and make an impact, honestly. And they're saying he's going undrafted, which is kind of weird to me, but I digress. So we're going to move on to the number 4 prospect. Okay, so the number 4 player on my list is Cameron Brown, or as people call him, Cam Brown. He's a cornerback for the Ohio State Buckeyes. It's coming out. Cameron Valentine was a cornerback for the Kentucky. I forget to say the names because I don't really rock with college football like that. But Cam Brown, I like, is another player that I like his size. 6 feet, almost 200 pounds. Comes from a pretty good school as far as producing NFL players. He's a senior this last year. And only issue with him, well, not only issues, there's a lot of issues, but he ran a 4.57, which not great, but he makes up with it for a lot. He has a vertical 34.5, broad jump of 115, which is not very good. Honestly, he didn't test very well at the combine at all. A lot of his numbers are like lower as far as the less unathletic side goes, but he still made the cut in my program, which does acquiesce for athletic prowess. It takes the broad jump, the 40 time, the 10-yard shuttle, the 3-cone, all of that. It takes it all into consideration and then spits out the players that match the traits of the all-pro cornerbacks. So he did come on the list, and I ended up watching his tape, and I was kind of impressed. I'm not gonna lie, for someone who tested so bad in the combine, I was kind of impressed as far as what I saw from this tape. I'll just go out with the pros. He has great technique. I was looking at it, and it's kind of blasphemous to say this, but when I was watching him, he kind of reminded me of a very, very, very poor man's Christian Gonzalez. His technique is great. Like, he has great technique. Another thing is, on tape, even though his combine numbers don't say that, on tape he looks pretty athletic. As far as let me rephrase it. He looks athletic enough. Okay. He looks like athletic enough to stay on the field. Like, the whole time I was watching this tape, I didn't see him get beat very egregiously. I did see one play where it seemed to be like a busted coverage where the safety didn't come up at the top and they were playing zone, and they just let a guy. He was chasing the guy, so it looked like he was the one who had coverage on him, but he really didn't. It was zone coverage, and that was the safety's fault. But yeah, so I was just highly impressed that he's very fluid. That's another thing, very fluid. He moves like he was born to play corner. Same thing with Christian Gonzalez. That's why it's kind of giving me a similarity of that route as well. I also think Ohio State's secondary last year was pretty bad, and because of that, a lot of their players in the secondary are taking the brunt of that. So people are just saying, oh, the whole secondary sucks. Cam Brown wasn't bad. In fact, he was pretty good. For me, the starter traits for him is the fluidity and the technique. Just go watch a couple tapes of Cam Brown. I promise you, you're gonna be more impressed. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I looked at his combine tape and his results, or his combine stats and his results, I was kind of off it. I thought he was gonna go undrafted, or if someone did draft it, he wouldn't make the team. But he's one of these players where, like, because he doesn't have the athleticism, he makes up for that with great technique, and he has a really, really, really good technique. He's a technician. Same thing with Christian Gonzalez as far as the technique and everything like that. So I think, and he looks like he's a natural corner. He can turn his hips around easily, can chase the ball, can cover. He's being slept on. I wouldn't mind at all if the Cowboys drafted any of these players that I just said, because we need some corners. Even though we just traded for Stephon Gilmore, but it's always nice to have as much corners as possible, especially if you're talking about corners of these guys' calibers. I really think this is a really good class of corners this year. So that's just me, though. I'm not even really an analyst. So that was Cam Brown. He was number 4. So I'm going to go to number 5 here. And this one I had a little issue because I was just trying to see. I was stuck really around between 3 and 5. Or really 3 and 4, but just for the sake of talking, 3 and 5, I was having a bit of struggle of who to put over who, because they all kind of, had their stuff they need to work on, and I feel like they all were kind of were decent, really decent, and looked like they were going to be starting quarterbacks in the future. However, they would need some time to turn into that. And my third quarterback overall, I haven't heard anyone talking about this corner. It may be just because I have this program here, but the third corner I want to talk about is Rajon Wright. Rajon Wright. Off the bat, I love his competitiveness. I love his personality. Came from, if you guys don't remember, he was on Last Chance U. I didn't watch that season, but I did hear that a lot, and so I love players. Me personally, I love players that's gone through adversity, because I know when the hard times come, you've already seen it before, and you're gonna prevail. So that's just right off the bat why I really like this guy. Now if we talk about football stuff, he has a lot of, he's also another player that they said was gonna be undrafted, I think, which is kind of weird to me, because he has a lot of decent qualities, especially with the 40 time he ran. So Rajon Wright, he plays for Oregon State. He's about 6'1", 193 pounds. That's perfect body size for a corner. From California, he has hands of about 9'5", which is a pretty big hands. He has an arm length of 32.5, which is really good. And he has a wingspan of 79 and 7/8, which is pretty good as well. So that was just weird for me. Now, I do see some of the other. Let me just list his pros here. He's a tall, lanky corner, like I just said. About 6'1", 193 pounds. So he's very lanky, very tall. I like corners like that as well. He has a really big wingspan. We just read it off. He has a really good wingspan, and you could see it on the tape play out. Like I said, cleared adversity. He's been on Last Chance U. He's a good zone coverage corner. He has really good screen play recognition and screen recognition. I've seen that multiple times from him as well. A willing tackler. He's willing to get up. He's willing to get up and hit somebody. So I like that from corners as well. So those are my pros. That's the reason I had him up so high. And the whole time I was going through this list, I was just wondering, maybe it was because other guys, but I was just wondering why. I don't know why everyone is not mentioning the guys. I haven't heard anyone mention these guys. Rajon Wright, some of the people I'm going to talk about earlier than him, or before him. Rajon Wright. I haven't heard anyone talk about Carrington Valentine. I haven't heard anyone talk about Cam Brown. Maybe a couple people, but not really as much as I would think. So I guess they're all pretty low on these guys, which for the life of me, I don't know why. Maybe I might be the stupid one. So, but I mean, we'll see when they actually play, not when they get drafted. But as far as the cons, I do see some of the cons that makes people stay away. Is he's kind of frail, and because of that, he can get blocked easily as far as the run game as well. You see that many times on tape, and he needs to kind of get better at that. Seems to be a mainly zone player, plays a lot of zone, and when he plays zone, he's not he's not as confident as he is when he plays man to man. So he gives up a lot of wide open passes and making poor decisions as far as the cornerback position goes. I do like that he's competitive, just like Devin Witherspoon. I like that about him. Yeah, I mean that's it. Like I really like Rajon Wright. A 6th round pick would be, I think if you get him from the 6th round, I think you're getting an absolute steal. Just honest, because I really like the player. I think he has a good size. I think he has good stuff to work with. I just think a lot of teams are kind of lazy and they don't want to do the teach these young guys like how to play in the league. They're not going to know unless you teach them. So that's me. That's just me personally. So now let's get to the number 2 prospect or number 2 sleeper. And I'm going to go with a guy that maybe a couple people talking about. I've seen some mock drafts go in about the 3rd round. If you get him in the 3rd round, that's going to be a steal as well. My number 2 guy is Jalen Jones from Texas A&M. Now, the biggest thing with him is size. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. I mean, that's a big ass corner. That's a huge corner. He has his hands are kind of small actually, 9 inches flat, which is not what I expected. His arm size is 30 3/4, which is kind of low as well. Wingspan only 73 inches. See, this is why I think they dropped him in the draft, like with all these traits and everything. However, I don't know what they're going off about, but because if he made it into the All Pro, comparison as far as like his stats measurements, then what's the problem? I mean, all the players, the average of those players meet the average, give or take a couple of points. The average is meaning the player's average as well. So I don't get that. He is a bit slow. He ran almost a 4.6, 4.57, which we talked about with parenting Valentine, and that's an issue as well as far as the speeds goes. And I'm not gonna lie, that kind of scared me from both of those prospects as well, because usually back in the day, if I was looking at this shit, I would just be like, no, I'm not drafting no corner that runs around a 4.6. But with the new NFL, I just want see how that goes, because there's a lot of big corners coming into the league, which he's going to be one of them. But a lot of them run like 4.4 as well, or 4.3, but he's going to run a 4.57. So let me go to his pros and cons. He's a good zone coverage corner. I think he's better in zone than man-to-man. Some people might say otherwise, but I just don't think he's developed enough to play man-to-man, to entrust him to play man-to-man on his side of the ball. I just don't think that's something that's possible. Especially, in his beginning of his career, especially. Good zone. He has decent instincts, which relates back to the ball skills. Ball skills is the real, like, that's what he's really good at. He's able to track down balls, which I usually like when players are able to track down balls, because it means they're actually getting their head around, being able to make plays out of nowhere. He's also a good tackler. You almost have to be at that size. Literally, if you just throw yourself in front of somebody, yeah, I mean, you're doing a lot more than other corners do. So he's a really good tackler, and I like that. The only cons I have on him has been the ones I've already said. This seems slow on tape, which now that I'm looking at his 40 time, it is slow. He is slow, and he actually seems pretty slow on tape as well. He had the slow 40 time that I already talked about. And then with his size, you would want him, if you look at this tape, you're like, damn, like, why can't you be more physical at certain times? But that can be taught, but I don't know if it can be learned like that, because if you're not physical like that, then it's just all about speed and technique, and he's not a speed or technique type of corner at all. I break it down 3 corners: speedy, great technique, very physical, and great size. And he needs to be in the very physical and great size thing, which he already has a great size thing down packed, but he needs to become more physical. I believe he needs to use his frame a lot more to disrupt receivers and everything like that. So that's why I have him at number 2. Yeah, I have number 2. So just to recap, before I start before I say the number 1 sleep your receiver, please like and subscribe to our channel, Throwing the Towel 214. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Throwing the Towel 214. On YouTube, it's Throwing the Towel Podcast. On Instagram, it's Throwing the Towel 214. Our Twitter is TITTP 214, and then our TikTok is the same thing, TITTP 214. And I just want to put this disclaimer out. I didn't ask to make a TikTok. I didn't ask to make it TikTok. I'm with. I don't know if this is controversial, but I'm for the ban of TikTok. I mean, it's getting ridiculous out here. But let's get back to the top. And we're also I'm gonna recap this for you as well. Number 5 was Carrington Valentine from Kentucky. Number 4 was Cam Brown from Ohio State. Number 3 was Rajon Wright from Oregon State. Number 2 was Jalen Jones from A&M. And we're going to get to number 1. Before I do that, though, I want to also shout our honorable mentions. People that just missed the cut that I really honestly think should be on the list. I just don't want to have any ties on there. Another player I was looking at that's pretty great. Another player I was looking at was Ty Stevenson out of University of Miami. He's another player that popped up in our program. But Ty Stevenson, like, he's a pretty good player, decent technique. He's not very physical, not a very good zone player, but he has decent technique, competitive, and he misses assignments a lot in man-to-man. So he almost just made my list, and if honestly he could probably just be with Valentine. It's like a toss-up. Honestly, I just picked Valentine just for traits that I like. So that's the only person I have in my honorable mention. So let's get to the number 1 sleeper in this year's NFL draft as far as the corner position. So the number 1 sleeper for me is Deonte Banks out of University of Maryland. I mean, it's insane. Don't get me wrong. I get why everyone is so enamored with the Devin Witherspoons, the Christian Gonzalez's, and the Joey Porter Jr.'s. I especially get that with Devin Witherspoon, but the only issue I have with Devin Witherspoon specifically is that this great breakout season was only done 1 year. So I have a hard time wrapping my head around drafting a player that's only had 1 great year of production. So I don't know. As far as Deonte Banks goes, I mean, he's something. I think he's something special, honestly. His pros for me when I watched him was he's one of the only players in this draft that travels with the best receiver, actually shadows the receiver and has that competitiveness to be like, hey, I want to be on the best receiver. He's the only player on the draft that does this. He's a great cover corner. You can put him out there on the island like they used to do with Darrelle Revis, and he's going to help hold his own, I believe. And that's one of the most valuable skills as far as a corner to me is, can you be a shutdown corner? It doesn't have to be all the time, but at times when we're needing, a player stopped here or there and everything like that. So that really helps. Another thing, he's a very physical corner because of his build. He's about 6 feet, 6'1", 197 pounds out of University of Maryland. However, I know I said, like someone else who's 193 pounds is small, but the way he looked, that 197, I'm sorry, is built. It's built. I mean, and then this just topped it when he ran a 4.35 at the 40. That just topped it for me. I was like, this guy is one of my personal favorite corners. I don't know if he will end up as the best corner in the league. He might, but just as a sleeper pick, he's one of my favorite corners because I heard some projections of going the first round, but I've also seen, slide to the second. I've heard even one say slide to the third. So if that happens, if he doesn't go in the first round, you're getting a steal at corner. Just my opinion. So he has decent hands. Arm length is about 31 and 3/8, which is not bad, but it's also not, anything spectacular or even really good. 77-inch wingspan. He didn't test very well at the combine. Well, he had a 136 centimeter long jump. So what the hell am I talking about? but yeah. So but he didn't. I feel like he didn't test very well. He's also a He's also a really good tackler because of his size. He's a really good tackler because of his size. So that's another thing which is so crazy to me. It's like I feel like all the corners are getting pretty big now, and I guess it's to combat the receivers and everything like that. So that's pretty crazy and cool to look at. But as far as his bad stuff or his stuff that won't translate, I just think it's really just about, for him mainly, it's just about the sense of urgency. He's a really good he's a really good athlete, but on tape he doesn't look as athletic. I don't know if that's because he's not really actually playing like that or whatever, but he's just not as athletic. He's another one of these corners that can get a bit handsy and grabby if he gets beat. So that was another issue. That's why I do believe that's why some teams are sleeping on him as well. At times he doesn't turn his head around to locate the ball. However, like I'm really nitpicking here because he's such a good corner that if he fixes some of this stuff, he'll probably be a top 5 corner in the league. But yeah, he doesn't get his head turned around enough. Yeah, so that's the sleeper pick. That's the number 1 sleeper pick. I think whoever gets Deonte Banks, Jalen Jones, or Rajon Wright, or even Cam Brown, like, I believe these players are going to be big time steals, and I think we're going to see the production of it go down next year. But if I'm wrong, I'll come up on this podium and say I'm saying I'm wrong. I'm not like these other niggas. I'll come back here and say that I'm wrong. But again, I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. Thank you for tuning in to Throw in the Towel podcast. We will be having some other shows done probably by the end of this week. We will be having a full live podcast in the next week or two. So please like and subscribe on our video. Please share with your friends. Follow us on Throwing the Towel 214, and follow us on Twitter, TITTP, and then go to our TikTok, TITTP 214 as well. Same thing as our TikTok and our Twitter account. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.